Hey, yo, what in the what? No, that's my phone, bro.
Somebody stop that, man. That phone's got all my explicit content.
Yes, I finally got myself a phone. I can't wait to play Football Manager on it, man. Oh my days. Are you mad? Crying out loud. I just wanted to play. Oh God, no. Guessing, judging from all of this, I'm not gonna get my phone back. Brother, my arm is physically on fire. Can we focus on the important thing? Yo guys, it is your boy Erik here, and you're watching FTW. This, of course, the series where it brings you the best and more frequently the worst of what football has to offer during the last 7 days. What's been kicking off in the world this week? Well, YouTuber Nico Milana is standing to become the UK's Prime Minister after going for London Mayor in past years. It says a lot when he genuinely might be the best option. Parliament is gonna be interesting once he takes over. Now, look, listen, the country is fucked big time, mate. Rent prices are through the roof. There's a cost of living crisis, and the standard of living is at an all-time new low. What do you plan, Prime Minister, to do?
Vibes.
Yeah, we are fucked. I need to see AJ Shabil in a cabinet. It's the only one he can reach, to be fair. But I'm convinced that Nico Milana could solve world peace, to be fair. Although upon promising to scrap army service, Ben White will be devastated finding out he has to actually continue playing football instead of getting called up to World War III. Benjamin will be laughing from the sidelines, though, this week, as England continued their preparation for Euro 2024, once again falling to the Iceland curse. Just like me after a wild Saturday night, they were defeated by the clap. That was back in 2016, and they lost here in 2024 too. That makes 2 losses, 2 draws, and 1 win in England's last 5. From the stands, and there were Wembley boos. And I'm not talking about the box park outside. England fans were not enjoying this one, and they have a right to be disappointed. A quarter of Iceland's entire population could have fit in that stadium that evening. We've lost to a supermarket, for fuck's sake. There needs to be some serious criminal questions answered. It turns out Iceland proved too cold for Cole Palmer. Either that or he's in the supermarket at the fridge aisle, just freezing somewhere. Iceland's supermarket employees will be confused when he opens his mouth.
Big up the whole island, massive. It's your boy Chatana.
Meanwhile, Declan Rice was distracted looking for his favourite drink.
Bruv, I need a Fanta Light, bruv.
Phil Foden was distracted too in the crowd upon hearing that there were Icelandic women to speak to. Phil Foden himself will now no longer be wearing the number 10 shirt. That's been given to Jude Bellingham, and his fiery mum has not taken the news well when confronting Gareth Southgate. Now, the headlines in the newspapers were, they followed a theme, let's say. Bukayo Saka seemed to become the face of failure here, despite only playing 25 minutes of the game. One of these headlines is just black ice. That is absolutely crazy. This ice is bad because it was black. Yeah, no, the age-old English media are coming to the fore once again, scapegoating young black English talent before we've even made it to the tournament this time. Now, this result definitely wasn't James Maddison's fault either, to be fair, as he was released from the squad, not making the final team for the tournament. He posted an emotional statement over on Twitter, which got a reply from England's official account. Seems counterintuitive. Like, you are the reason why he's depressed, lads. I don't think you... And given Jack Grealish isn't in the squad either, those two will be raving in Ibiza before you know it, spending the GDP of Luxembourg on ketamine.
Jack Grealish, and you're like, he's my bubba.
One man that isn't showing any sympathy, though, is Neil Maupay, who, upon James Maddison being released from the squad, replied purely with a picture of him and a darts board due to James Maddison's signature celebration that he stole last season. It's a platinum shithousery award. This guy, genuinely, I don't know how he even has time to be a footballer with all this tweeting. But what it does mean is there's no Tottenham players in the Three Lions shirt for the first time in about 50 years. And England win Euro 2024. Harry Kane, meanwhile, a former Tottenham man, has freed himself from the shackles of Spurs. Now he's trying to free himself from the shackles of Gareth Southgate. There's no such problems in the life of Reece James, who has become a humble janitor. Listen, he needs to be careful. Knowing him, one step on that wet floor and he's out for the season. He is the guy on the sign. Meanwhile, Manchester United goalkeeper Tom Heaton has travelled with the squad. He's going to be part of the team, but more from like a coaching perspective, I think. He's getting a free holiday, basically. The guy, honestly, is frauding a living, even at United.
I cannot believe that plum Will is going to pay me for yesterday when all I did was watch TV and slope off for a crafty wank. I'm being paid to wank.
Meanwhile, it's a great time to be a crippling gambling addict with the Euros and Copa America right around the corner. Lucas Paqueta's ready to stick a £4.50 acca on every single team at both tournaments.
Easy money, free money.
The Cole Palmer I mentioned there won't have been happy with the results for England this week. He won't really be happy with the headshots that have been released of him. They'll have left him shocked with his mouth wide open. or sad with his mouth wide open, or impressed with his mouth. He's always got his mouth open, is what I'm trying to say. The man is a pure mouth breather and an absolute nightmare late at night for the rest of his England teammates. This is what I'm looking like in the beer garden when England play and it starts hailing in July. He was just 50% of the way through head, shoulders, knees, and toes, lads. Give him a break. He does, like, look, listen, I've seen guys that pose like this and they ate rubbers at school. That's all I'm gonna say.
What?
Now, for Cristiano Ronaldo, this marks 20 years of the European Championships in terms of participation. He made his debut, of course, back in 2004, and his level of consistency at the top level is absolutely unbelievable. Having 0 World Cups at the start of his career and 0 World Cups now. The guy still looks 28, by the way. Are they doing, like, scientific experiments on him or something? Now, he said this week that he doesn't want to talk too much. He wants to let his actions do the talking. Piers Morgan, I think, will be disagreeing with that statement. It is, like, genuinely impressive, though. Let's actually be real for a second. Like, I know he's obviously playing in Saudi Arabia. It's not as, like, a good a league, really, quality-wise, as, say, the Prem or Serie A. But he's still scoring at an extremely high level. He's still doing relatively well at an international level as well. And it's a similar story at Croatia, who they played, in fairness, in an international friendly this week, because their midfield was about in the Old Testament. Thine acquires the sphere and places its doth foot. At France now, and life is pretty simple for Ousmane Dembele, who found himself chilling and eating pizza during a team talk by Didier Deschamps and France, although things weren't always as plain sailing for him in the dressing room, as he managed to injure himself near absolutely nobody. In travelling for the tournament, and France had an interesting lineup on the plane, I've seen this sort of lineup before.
What are you doing here? And not in a racist way.
Does anyone know what French is for Rosa Parks? I'm asking for our friend. Meanwhile, during one of their friendlies this week, and Kylian Mbappe found himself in a perfectly timed situation. The brothers had a full-on eye-to-eye conversation with an ad board here. But domestically, and Kylian Mbappe will be getting an eye-to-eye conversation with his own room. He will have his own suite at Real Madrid inside the Bernabeu, where only he is allowed to go and chill out. The door is operated by fingerprint technology to only allow him in, so he'll be getting an unwanted family visitor who's hoping to get a move to Real Madrid pretty soon. Ethan Mbappe will be trying his hardest to get in with the same DNA. This is absolutely bad, by the way. Does this ever happen in football before? Imagine the rest of the team are sulking in the dressing room and he's playing his PlayStation 6.
Mbappe, da.
Reckon this was a contract demand, like no deal, unless he gets his own sofa and mini fridge.
Oh shit! Yo, give me one second, man. Where you going? Relax, man. Let's negotiate, man.
Life looks like it's going to be good for Kylian Mbappe, but not so much for the league that he left behind. As Ligue 1, as things stand, do not hold any sort of broadcasting deal for next season. This is the Mbappe effect. He turned the lights off on the way out of the division. This has absolutely catastrophic repercussions for the teams in the division. As things stand, promoted teams can't actually sign new players at all, mostly because there's absolutely no certainty on how much money they're going to have next year. I mean, it's an absolute disaster. Most teams rely a lot on TV revenue, and as things stand, teams can't budget for it, and as things stand, there's none whatsoever. French teams are in real danger here. The reality is a sad one. Nobody abroad wants to watch Reims versus Strasbourg on a Friday evening. It's peak. Canal Plus had some harsh words for PSG after the Parisians lost all of their good players.
How much is this?
149, sir.
I've got 50p. Fuck you, bastard.
They're going to be broadcasting on Daily Motion next season at this rate, bruv. You know what, actually? I've got the perfect channel for them. French fans are going to have to watch the division in about 144p when the official TV broadcast is on Total Sport Tech. We'll come back to the Euros and preparation, etc. in a second. But at least England were victorious somewhere this week. And that's at Soccer Aid, as Frank Lampard guided his side to a 6-3 victory over the rest of the world in this year's charity match. Frank will be hoping that this qualifies him now for the Chelsea job in an achievement that is quite easily his biggest since his 16th place with Everton. Though, the perfectionist that he is, he still wasn't too pleased at the fact that his side conceded 3 goals.
Start really well, control the game, allow another average goal, then a fluke goal, then another average goal.
But out on the pitch, and Danny Dyer was in the starting 11 for England at the back, and he will have been left petrified seeing Eden Hazard come towards him.
What have I got myself into? I am fucking shitting myself.
I mean, what on earth was he supposed to do when a ball was floated in behind for Alessandro Del Piero?
What am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to chase after them?
Eden Hazard, a Chelsea legend, of course, and he was back scoring here at Stamford Bridge with a lovely free kick, though Mo Farah had to admit that he was finding it difficult to mark the Belgian, given his gargantuan bunda.
He's small and his bum is there. When you put your feet,
He put his bum ass like that in the turn.
I mentioned Italian Alessandro Del Piero. He scored here as well with an assist from Jamaican 100-meter star Usain Bolt. However, things would end badly for the former Olympic hero as he suffered a ruptured Achilles later on in the game. He had to be stretched off. Get well soon. He's not gonna have the same level of pace for the 100 meters now. Diary of a CEO presenter, Stephen Bartlett, got himself a brace here. Can't fool me, Stephen. Drugs test him now. He's been on the Huel. He'll be interviewing himself in the next episode, man. Right, so obviously, Stephen, you are fucking brilliant as a man. Oh no, honestly, Stephen, you're too kind. You are unbelievable. Should we just like lips right now? One man who didn't have quite as positive impact on the game was Tommy Fury. The boxer bringing the unusual technique of an underhand throw-in to the table. He wasn't great with his hands here or with his feet, if we're being totally honest with you.
He must have a foot like a traction engine.
He was struggling, realizing that there would be no bell after 90 seconds for a break here. He was hooked here more than one of his boxing matches, honestly. Meanwhile, at home, NKSI was shadowboxing with his TV, looking for an opportunity. Fellow Sidemen member Mini Minter was involved in this match as well, though struggled to get on the ball. Honestly, he would have got more service from Vicstar123 than anyone out there on the pitch. Roberto Carlos seen Theo Baker strike the ball once in training and said he had to get out of there. He wasn't able to play. Meanwhile, one man that was on the pitch for England was Jack Wilshere. In soccer aid at the age of 32, that is a travesty for football. Once again, though, loads of money raised for charity. That is the main thing. Shout out to everybody involved. In another charity case, though, an Erik Ten Hag is staying at Manchester United.
You're right.
This should be confirmed soon by Ineos, the Red Devils owners. And honestly, this is advantage Premier League. Pep Guardiola was playing 4D chess by letting him win the FA Cup final and was trying his hardest to act disappointed as United won, keeping Ten Hag in the job for another year.
Oh no, oh fiddlesticks!
After their interview with the Dutchman on the touchline after the final, Alan Shearer and Gary Lineker will be left happy when he finishes 8th in the league again. One man who won't be too pleased is Jadon Sancho, realising he's still got to apologise to Erik. In fairness to Ten Hag, look, listen, United were, pretty shambolic, but had to deal with a disgraceful amount of injuries, especially defensively last season. If he does actually have a full squad at his disposal, you might see a better, performance. Maybe if he adds Amad Diallo to the actual club WhatsApp chat, things might go a little bit better, mate. Now, Erik Ten Hag's home nation, the Netherlands, helped with a CONCACAF beatdown this week. Canada got spun by the Netherlands, and to be honest with you, that's fair. The Netherlands are good, Canada not so much. But the US got battered 5-1 by Colombia, and that's mental. Greg Berhalter in charge of the US. Get him done for terrorism. He's the first American Al-Qaeda recruit, I'm convinced. The US having these resources and playing these players, yet playing like this is insane. Now, I'm starting to come up with a theory as to why the US don't score as many goals as they should. I'll pull a sick here. He's in a great position. Christian, shoot! Oh, yeah, right, no, I probably shouldn't have said that. Why are you even still? They're dead. They're all done. Colombia's Luis Diaz was even so comfortable in this match, he had time to come up with some new bars. Alright, you know what? Yeah, let's actually give the win to the US on further inspect. And it didn't stop there for CONCACAF, as Mexico were battered by Darwin Núñez. Uruguay won 4-1 here. Darwin Núñez grabbed himself a hat-trick for Uruguay and scored once again off the pitch by Aaron Jack Doherty. He's even missed him, for fuck's sake. Darwin, come on. Things aren't going much better, though, for Nigeria. We lost to Benin this week. It's the first time we've ever lost to Benin in the history, I think, of competitive football. We couldn't even beat Lesotho, so I don't know what's to be expected. That's a country in another country, by the way. We've got Ghanaian journalists asking to have a playoff match against us. They're challenging us to an all-or-nothing game out of pure confidence. They're gonna qualify. You got African World Cup representatives, okay? We've got Ashraf Hakimi at right back, Riyad Mahrez at right wing, and Alex Iwobi in front of his television.
Screaming on, nah, but let me show you what I'ma do.
Victor Osimhen's gonna need to put a whole different mask on when walking around Nigeria now. Over at Scotland, and they drew with Finland this week, conceding the equalising goal to Ant-Man. I mean, that hardly seems fair, does it? Scotland must have been left furious realising they were playing against an Avenger. Tell you what though, Ant-Man will have been in absolute awe seeing that ball come towards his 3mm frame.
This is huge!
This is massive!
At Poland, and life is going to be difficult for them at the Euros too, with Robert Lewandowski picking up a knock that will see him miss their first match against Serbia. Poland are done now, bro. He's all they have. He's going to be trying to motivate his teammates from the sidelines, but I don't think it's going to go too well. Yeah, Robert, I'd rather kill myself than watch this, mate. So if you could just... And his Polish teammates are already practicing for ways they can fraud themselves to a victory during this tournament.
He could have been killed.
Life is much better for Brazil at the moment. Well, kind of. They won, though it took a last-minute goal from teenager Endrick versus Mexico to win 3-2. And Real Madrid fans will be delighted seeing him and Vinny Jr. celebrating. His storyline is getting a little bit suspicious at this point. He first appeared in FTW, I want to say about 3 years ago. I think he scored like a bicycle kick for Palmeiras when he was like 14, and it's getting a little bit out of hand now. He was quoted as saying that when he was 16, he spent a little bit too much time on social media. Brother, you're 17 now. This was 3 weeks ago. You don't have to say. Elsewhere, though, obviously, Brazil's starting 11 going into this game was...
What's wrong with y'all niggas? What's wrong with you?
Honestly, it's actually painful comparing this team to the Brazil squad that we had from when we were kids. It looks like a Pro Evo version of the 2002 squad. Vinicius Jr. is 1 star in that team, though, and he'll be happy with a verdict that's coming out of La Liga and Spain, where a group of Valencia fans that racially abused him have been sentenced to 8 months of jail time. He was quoted as saying that he's not a victim of racism, but a tormentor of racists. That is a bar. Someone write that down and put it onto a graphic that has a sunset in the background, and he will have been rubbing it into the arrested individuals from outside of their cell.
Vamos pular a parte que eu peço aquele vinho do bom.
Now, elsewhere, and Pep Guardiola was at the basketball. I don't know how he ended up here, to be brutally honest with you. He was clearly an invited guest at an NBA match this week. He's trying to work out from the sidelines how he can bring tiki-taka to this sport. I can't wait for him to absolutely whitewash the NBA with 6 titles in a row. He looked stressed because no one had managed to keep possession for 11 working minutes straight. Back in the water out when a guy got smoked by a Euro step. To be fair, it makes sense, you know. His head is the same shape as the ball, so we will be a little bit less keen on a move when he realizes the majority of NBA players aren't white.
My kids go to the school with the different Indian people, for black people, for normal people.
Now back at the Euros, and there's no tiny car this year. I know, it's pretty devastating. The tournament isn't sponsored by Volkswagen anymore, which means Lorenzo Insigne is taking it back to Italy. A parking ticket with this is about 75p, mate. There was some black magic going on in Turkey's match against Poland. Meanwhile, that wasn't distracting Turkey fans from diving from the rafters just for a shirt. He's broken his neck, but he's got the memorabilia. That's what matters. At Austria now, and Ralf Rangnick has booked for his entire squad to go and watch a Rod Stewart gig just 2 days before their match against France. Match preparation, tactical talking, no, none of that, just vibes.
This guy is not even a coach.
On the stairs of TikTok now, we've got a dog that is quite literally predicting the Euros by diving, headering a ball into a basket. Nicholas Bentner has brought out a sensational new trim. Gibraltar managed to upset the odds by grabbing a 0-0 draw against Wales, ending their ridiculously long losing run. Shout out to them, brilliant result for the Minnows. Meanwhile, wholesome stuff going on in Slovenia, where Josip Ilicic made his return to the national team. After a couple of years out, he'd been struggling with his mental health. He returned and scored in his first game back. We love to see it. Now back in African World Cup qualifying, Algeria faced off against Guinea, and the linesman fancied himself as a right winger. Clearly still wasn't close enough to the action to give this Guinea penalty though. Meanwhile, over in Asian World Cup qualifying, and Qatar beat India 2-1 to all but end India's chances and hopes of making the World Cup proper. However, the goal that secured it was an absolute robbery, as the ball had quite clearly gone out for a corner. A Qatar player just rolled it back in and then put it into the back of the net. The rest of that World Cup 22 corruption fund is going to good use, I see. Now there is time for your goals of the week. We've got a couple bangers here for you. First of all, for Cristiano Ronaldo. I spoke about him earlier on and his effect for Portugal. He scored an absolute beauty earlier on this week, and this angle is disgraceful. But the second goal is a still 0-0 collaboration, because we have got a mental Sunday League screamer with a perfect volley finding the top corner. Now, over in Spain, and Xavi is enjoying his life after leaving Barcelona. He's off playing football in Ibiza. Honestly, him, Maddison and Grealish on the bevs together. But at the club that he left behind and in Barcelona's youth academy, we've got an under-12 player here scoring a Rabona. What are they feeding these kids in La Masia, man? Like, it's actually getting out of hand. In Malaga's hopes, though, now of getting promoted, they were gifted a goal by a defender, pulling out the rare backwards diving header assist. It's impressive, if anything. I don't think you could do this again if you tried. In Italy, and shout out to Carrarese Calcio, who have spent 46 years straight in Serie C, they were finally promoted after years of mediocrity and find themselves in Serie B. The pitch invasion was amazing. A whole generation has seen them in 1/3 division. In Germany, in a side called Bischofwerder, I don't know how to pronounce it, I'll be honest with you. They secured promotion as well, but in more dramatic circumstances, with a 3-goal swing in the 90th minute. They needed 3 goals to go up via goal difference. They delivered in the final few minutes of injury time, sparking incredible scenes. In France, and Zinedine Zidane got done by the Zinedine Zidane, using Zidane's own skill move on him. Absolutely mental. And over at Marseille, shout out to Igor Tudor, who was made their manager earlier in the season for less than 80 days. He's been sacked already. Hello all, and welcome to The Beautiful Game, the segment where we take a look at the poetic and brilliant side of the game that we love. We are back by popular demand for yet more glorious beauty. And that concludes The Beautiful Game. Over in the USL, the 2nd division of American football, get ready for one of the most ridiculous pieces of play you are ever going to see, with a front flip throw-in leading to something even more spectacular. This has to be a pushkas contender for the throw and then the finish, like, combined. The spectacular stuff going on in the Cayman Islands as well, who have been in the news for positive and negative reasons this week. First of all, in the positives, they managed to grab their first ever World Cup qualifying win with a 90th minute winner from Joshua Campbell against Antigua. So a really mental result for them, a side that's kind of always the whipping boys of CONCACAF and of Caribbean football. A pretty tiny island nation, they've done the business here. However, they had to then forfeit their next game against Cuba because a number of their players are students with US visas or passports. And because of the relationship between the US and Cuba, if they were to go there, they may have their US visas taken away, which is absolutely disgraceful. It means they lost the game and now return back down the table in World Cup qualifying. One man having a key part to play in World Cup qualifying is Hassan Sunny. Now, I wouldn't blame you for not knowing who this man is, but Chinese supporters definitely know who he is. The Singapore goalkeeper was their hero, despite not even playing for them. He managed to stop Thailand from scoring an all-important goal that would have raised their goal difference and seen them qualify for the next round of World Cup qualifying instead of China. So in making a crazy amount of saves, he basically guaranteed China's move through, and as a response, they've been giving him 5-star ratings on his restaurant back home in Singapore to try and boost the amount of people that go and visit, which is extremely wholesome. We love to see it. In Japan now, and there's no bad time to practice a handstand. Crazy acrobatics there, but it was another Japanese footballer getting a little bit jumpy when a splash of water landed on his shoulder. This poor brother's absolutely finished when it starts raining. Another surprise in World Cup qualifying over in Asia is that North Korea are through to the next round. They finished above Syria in their group to make it through. As for the citizens of the country, they've been told they've won the tournament already. The San Marino's youth side did the unthinkable this week. They won. Yeah, San Marino are starting to actually put some things into place to not be terrible. Their youth sides are doing okay, better than usual. Their women's side as well recently. They won 3-0 over Gibraltar. Still not a great team, but we move. Back in the Caribbean and Anguilla, they've got a player called Aiden Scipio who has such long hair that he has to have a waistband around his stomach to tie it up. This brother needs 3 bottles of shampoo for every shower. In a somewhat fiery African derby, to say the least, South Sudan beat Sudan. Now, they were involved in a civil war. There's still conflict in Sudan now. They came together to play a match of football, and the fact that it didn't end in a travesty, I suppose, is actually a good thing. So shout out to both of them, honestly, for making that happen. Meanwhile, over at Mauritania in Africa, not such good footballing ability going on here with this shocker of an own goal. Now, the Qatar result that I mentioned earlier on will have been a bitter pill to swallow for India, but so will the retirement of their prodigal son. Sunil Chetri said goodbye to the national national team after being their record goal scorer and appearance maker, a legend of Indian football. Hopefully we'll see another Sunil Chetri soon. I made a video on the state of Indian football. You can check that out actually in the description below or on the top right of the screen. Meanwhile, Brunei Darussalam, who you will know if you ever watched the box series, home of Fight Bolkiah, a terrible footballing nation, but they won this week, beating Sri Lanka 1-0. Now closer to home, and Liverpool won an award for being the most engaged with social media account of the year. You will never sing that. We've won the social media, bruv, and I don't care. There's big news at the Blues as Chelsea are allegedly on the verge of signing Michael Olise from Crystal Palace. These lot are intent on ruining the careers of young black footballers. This club is racismo. Meanwhile, Patrick Vieira jumped on the overlap to talk about his rivalry with Roy Keane and the rest of the Manchester United squad, amongst other topics. When asked who made the most appearances at international tournaments, though, he couldn't help but take a dig at Roy.
Who had the most international caps?
Yeah, that's an easy one.
Easy. You qualified for more tournaments, you see.
And I never walk out of it.
I was terrified to say that. I left the pause for someone to fill it.
Yeah, it's a shithousery award for the Frenchman, but still wholesome nonetheless. Over at Tottenham, Tanguy Ndombele is in talks to have his contract terminated with the North London side. I don't see this talked about anywhere near enough, but this has got to be one of the worst Premier League flops of all time, right? 60 million quid, did nothing, trained in a park, went on loan, left for free. And they're having to pay him out. That's crazy. Imagine the footballer he could have been if he could have actually completed a bleep test. And what's even more mental is going on at Thornaby women's side, who have basically had all of their women's teams just terminated without having a say in the matter because their board of directors have decided that it's not worth their time, which is a real step backwards in terms of accessibility even for the women's game. Lots of players now without, like, they had like youth teams, like kids teams, youth teams, a full senior side that's had the rug pulled from under their feet with no actual warning. And yeah, hopefully the situation can be rectified because it's a bit of a joke. Now, over in Brazil, on a side called I don't know how to pronounce it. It's so many vowels. This side, they're playing against Vitória. They've decided to put their under-12s out for a match. I don't know the backstory behind this. I don't know whether this is in protest. I don't know whether this is because their full team was too tired. The Vitória players, though, honestly, they must not have been able to believe their luck. And that goes for this shot stopper in the Georgian Cup as well, who was substituted on as a forward, thrown up top for extra bodies, only to score a goal right at the end. Unbelievable stuff from that goalkeeper there. In Suriname now, and honestly, they might well be playing no rules football, because how on earth has this been given as no penalty? Elsewhere in the world of football, and Dick extends. No, I'm not talking about Wayne Rooney when he walks past an old people's home. It is at Wraith Rovers, where a player that they have by the name of, they do this every year. As soon as he signs a contract extension, this is the headline. Bro's playing with two balls at once. Absolutely, it's unfair, really. Back in Brazil, and this Grêmio goal scorer pulled out a magic trick for his celebration, making his whole body disappear. I don't think there's anything that's ever inspired more confidence in a physio than Rugrat socks on his legs, to be honest with you. In Japanese college football, though, now, we've got a goalkeeper who's put the ball out of the air. He's ready to play out from the back, but little does he know, an opponent forward is waiting in the shadows to steal the ball off him and tuck it away into an empty net. And speaking of Japanese college football, which is a massive thing over there, in the Emperor's Cup, kind of their version of the FA Cup, there were two absolutely huge upsets where two J1 League sides have gone out thanks to universities. Literally. The best team in Japanese football have lost to a college, bro. On the theme of youth football and in Adelaide's under-23s, they managed to be involved in two back-to-back stunners. Two 4-4s where, first of all, they provided a comeback from 4-0 down in the second half, only to have the exact same thing happen to them just a week later. In the Philippines, and they are genuinely having a goalkeeping crisis at the moment. I feel like there's a howler from them every single week. Meanwhile, one player here has let himself get a little bit distracted, thinking the ball was this carrier bag. Yeah, look, it happens to the best of us, man. That's what you do. That's what happens when there's a Tesco nearby. Now that it's time for Still 0-0, and you guys know the score by now. This is a segment of the show where I bring to you the best of Sunday League and amateur football. Now, Sunday League is usually affiliated with hard men. Pause. With challenges and tackles flying in on a regular basis. However, with the infiltration of tiki-taka and Pep Guardiola, some of the darker tactics are starting to creep their way into the lower levels.
You know what I'm telling you, no?
Ty, that's brilliant.
Oh my!
Yeah, what kind of dive is that, brother? He's breathed on you. On to the weird stuff though now. And first of all, we start in the Ivory Coast with a Spanish footballer called Galan. Now, Galan is kind of like semi-known in Spain as having had a ridiculous career where he's played in 14 different nations. He is the definition of a journeyman. Well, he's probably had the weirdest club change of his career so far. He has signed for a side over in the Ivory Coast for one game only, a playoff match for promotion, purely because he was on holiday in the region. Not sure how he's going to explain the extra week off to the missus, but we move. And finally, we've got a ridiculous but genuinely impressive and wholesome story that's come out of Italy. And that's at Lecce, where their manager, Luca Gotti, has received a new deal for perhaps the most dramatic reason in footballing history. Luca received his new deal because he saved the club's sporting director from a fire. In essence, saved him, and then just a couple of days later, magically had himself a new contract. I mean, I think it's the least that he deserves, realistically. I hope this man got a serious pay rise. That, though, is going to wrap up football this week, and I hope you have enjoyed it. If you have, then feel free to slap a like on the video, and of course, subscribe if you're new to the channel. You can also follow me on social media. It is at @theofficialfng on Twitter and on Insta. But it's been a pleasure ranting at you guys today. Have a wonderful day, enjoy yourselves, and goodbye.